In this screencast, we're going to look at creating a lesson within Moodle and how that works and can enhance your course. A lesson is a wonderful way to create a little more interactivity amongst the student in the course itself. It gives you the chance and the opportunity to either create you could utilize it almost even as a quiz where the questions are scored. You could utilize it more as a function of checking to see if students have read, where to be able to answer the questions they would have had to read the text. You could utilize it kind of as a study guide where you provide questions and possible answers to lead up to a test. You could utilize it just merely as a lesson where it's an educational tool where you're wanting them to read and then click and move and navigate through the lesson plan according to the subject matter that they're looking at. So there's a few different ways to utilize it, and again, it creates a little more interaction rather than just sitting and reading. You're having to read, think, react, read, think, react, and so it creates an extra layer there that can be helpful. So this is going to be broken up into two parts because the settings, there's quite a few options in the settings. Most of them will you'll probably just fall to the default settings, but I want to make sure you understand what the different topics or options are in the settings. So you want to turn editing on. Corresponding week, we turn editing on. You want to make sure you find the corresponding week that you're working in. All right, and we're going to go under Add an Activity. Find and move you over, and under Add an Activity, drop down the menu and go to Lesson. Now when the screen refreshes, I want to show you something. Up here, make sure this is in your screen, that's what the lesson icon looks like if you don't remember from your icon sheet or whatever. So that it's a little, it's kind of like the branch idea. So whenever you hear it referred to branches, kind of envision this where boxes branch off of one another, so answers lead to new boxes and new questions. That's kind of the idea behind it. So there's some general information that you're going to need. One is the name, and again, you want to sync it up with your syllabus. So one of the things that you're going to want to do before you even get here to this point is, one, you're going to need your syllabus built out so you know where the lesson can fit into your course, or at least a map of it. It doesn't have to be etched in stone. And the other thing is you want to map out your lesson plan. Now we're going to go over what the settings are and then go over what the different options are in creating it, but you want to make sure you have it mapped out before you get in here, because the options in here are very, well, it's very robust. There's quite a few things you can do with it, so we want to make sure that you come in with a game plan ahead of time. It'll make it easier for you. Again, you don't have to, it's up to you, but that's definitely a suggestion I would give to you. So you want to give it a name, time limit. Now if you put a time limit on it, there will literally appear in the upper left hand corner a timer. Okay, now what will happen is that the student won't be kicked out of it. So if you set it for 20 minutes and you have 50 questions in there and it takes them 25 minutes, what will end up happening is the amount of questions they answer within that time limit will get recorded or dropped in for grades for the grade book if you have it set up that way. And the ones answered outside of that time wouldn't. So it's a way to kind of control, especially if you're using it for an exam or a quiz, it's a way to kind of control how much time students have. And you'll definitely want to preface that and make sure they know that ahead of time, so that if there's 20 questions and in 20 minutes they get to 15 of them and they think, oh, I'm still answering the next 5, well, those actual 5 will be 0 points. They will show up as 0 even if they answer them correctly. Okay. To enable it, you would just click enable and then you could adjust the time. Okay. The maximum number of answers or branches. So this will be, you got to kind of, when it talks about branches, again, think back to the icon I showed you, or answers, where you can either list them horizontal or vertical, and it will be the choices to the question you posed. As far as off of those will direct you over to the different sections or different pages as well. So depending on how you answer one question could direct you to a different page than if you answered it another way. And those will be, as we build it out, you'll be able to see how that works. But the amount that show up, so the amount of choices you have. So if it's a true false, you only need 2. If you're giving it multiple choice, you may want 3, 4, 5. It really ends up being up to you. If you need more than that, it goes all the way up to 20. Okay. Grade options. If it's set to practice lesson, this will not show up in a grade book. Okay, so if it's just a practice, it won't drop in the grade book, which is a nice way to make it a study tool. It's the only time really, unless it's for actual points in the course, I'd always just leave it on practice. Custom scoring. This will allow you to put a numerical point value on each answer. Okay, so if it is for a test, and if it's worth a set 50 points, but each question you want to adjust, it could be negative or positive depending on how you want to do it. The maximum grade. This would be the highest total a person could get, and it goes all the way up to 100. So the highest point total. So again, this would be fed off your syllabus. If this lesson's worth 20 points, the maximum grade someone could get on this, meaning 100%, would be 20 points. Okay. Student can retake, yes or no. That's up to you. Okay. If you want them to be able to, if it's a study guide, you may want to let them retake it as many times as they need to kind of utilize it that way. But again, if it's a test or a quiz that you're utilizing it, you may want to leave it on no. Handling of retakes. If you have it set, and it's set to score a grade in the grade book, and you're going to allow retakes, there's two ways that you can calculate or collect the scores. One is the mean, so that it takes, say you allow them to retake it up to 4 times. So it would kind of take that that average, or that middle number, as far as whether or not it's the average of the 4. So if they got 15 and then they got 17 and they got 12 or 13, it would average the 4 together, add those up, divide it by 4, and give you the score. If you use the maximum, it's out of the 4. Let's say there's 4 attempts. What's the best score they got out of 4? So say the best score is 17. That's the one they would take. So those are choices you have. Display ongoing score. That just shows the student at the bottom, of each page, the student's current points earned out of the total possible. So if they've taken 10 out of 15 and they're worth 1 point each, and they've got 9 correct, they'd show 9 out of 10 so far. Okay, so it kind of gives them a little bit of an aspect as far as letting them know how well they're doing as well. So could be useful. It's up to you. I tell you what, we're going to stop right there, and when we come back in the second part of this, we'll start with the flow control. Okay.